She thought she married the man of her dreams, a charming smile, a perfect proposal, a wedding that looked like something out of a fairy tale. But 5 days after saying I do, Emma Carter would discover something on her husband's camera that would make her blood run cold. A video, a missing woman, and sounds of torture that echoed through the halls of their new home. The question wasn't just what happened to the woman in that video. The question was Emma next?
Dark Stories. True crime is your home for chilling crimes, unsolved mysteries, and the darkest secrets the world has to offer. We uncover shocking cases, disturbing truths, and mysterious disappearances. Hit subscribe and join us.
This is the story of Emma Carter, a 32-year-old elementary school teacher from Portland, Oregon. Her life had always been simple, predictable, safe. She loved her students. She loved her routine. And after years of failed relationships, she'd almost given up on finding someone who truly understood her. Then she met David Brennan. He was different, thoughtful, attentive. He remembered the small things, her favorite coffee order, the way she liked her eggs, the name of her childhood dog. 6 months into their relationship, he proposed on a beach at sunset, and Emma felt like she'd finally found her person. The wedding was intimate, elegant, everything she'd dreamed of. But what Emma didn't know was that David had a past he'd buried deep, a past that involved another woman, another marriage, and a disappearance that no one had ever solved. The first few days of marriage felt surreal. Emma and David moved into a beautiful 2-story house on the outskirts of Portland, surrounded by trees and quiet roads. It was the kind of place where nothing bad ever happened, or so she thought. On their 5th night as husband and wife, Emma was unpacking boxes in the spare bedroom when she found David's old camera bag tucked away in the closet. She pulled it out, curious. Inside was a Canon DSLR, covered in dust, like it hadn't been used in years. She turned it on. The battery was dead, so she plugged it in and waited. When the screen flickered to life, she scrolled through the photos. Most of them were ordinary. Landscapes, sunsets, a few selfies of David from what looked like years ago. But then she found a folder labeled Personal. Her finger hovered over it. Something told her not to open it, but curiosity won. What she saw next would haunt her forever. The first video was dated 3 years earlier. It showed a woman bound to a chair in what looked like a basement. Her face was bruised, her eyes were filled with terror, and behind the camera, a voice Emma recognized. It was David. Emma's hands trembled as she watched. The woman in the video was crying, begging, pleading for someone to let her go, but David's voice remained calm, almost detached. He wasn't yelling, he wasn't angry, he was methodical, clinical, like he'd done this before. Emma's mind raced. Who was this woman? Why did David have this video? And why had he kept it all these years? She scrolled further. There were more videos, dozens of them, each one more disturbing than the last. The woman's condition deteriorated with each clip. Her voice grew weaker, her pleas more desperate. And then, in the final video, there was silence. The camera panned across an empty chair. Ropes lay discarded on the floor. Blood stained the concrete. And David's voice, cold and emotionless, whispered into the microphone, "It's done." Emma stumbled backward, her breath catching in her throat. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Her mind couldn't process what she'd just seen. Was this real? Was her husband, her kind, loving husband, a monster? Emma's instinct told her to run, to grab her keys, get in her car, and never look back. But something stopped her. She needed answers. She needed to know who that woman was. She opened her laptop and began searching. She typed keywords into Google. Missing woman Portland, David Brennan, unsolved disappearance. Nothing came up at first. But then she found an old news article from 3 years ago. The headline read, "Local woman vanishes without a trace. Family still searching for answers." The photo attached to the article made Emma's stomach drop. It was her, the woman from the video. Her name was Rebecca Hayes. She was 28 years old when she disappeared. She was last seen leaving her apartment in downtown Portland. Her car was found abandoned near the Columbia River. Her phone, her wallet, her keys, all gone. The case went cold. No suspects, no leads, no body. But now Emma knew the truth. Rebecca Hayes didn't just vanish. She was taken, and the man who took her was sleeping in the bed next to her every night. Emma couldn't breathe. Her mind was spinning, trying to make sense of everything. Should she call the police? Should she confront David? What if he knew she'd found the camera? What if she was next? She heard the front door open downstairs. David was home. Her heart pounded in her chest. She quickly turned off the camera, shoved it back into the bag, and closed the closet door. She tried to steady her breathing as his footsteps echoed up the stairs. "Hey, babe," David called out, his voice warm and familiar. "You okay up there?" Emma forced herself to smile as he appeared in the doorway. "Yeah, just unpacking. There's so much stuff." He walked over and kissed her forehead. "You work too hard. Come downstairs. I made dinner." She followed him, her legs shaking, her mind screaming at her to say something, do something. But she didn't. Not yet, because she needed to be sure. She needed to gather evidence, and she needed to figure out how to survive. That night, after David fell asleep, Emma crept back upstairs. She pulled the camera out again and connected it to her laptop. She copied every single video onto a flash drive, her hands trembling the entire time. She couldn't stop thinking about Rebecca, about the terror in her eyes, about the way David's voice never wavered, never showed a hint of remorse. But Emma had questions. Why did he keep the videos? Was it a trophy? A reminder? Or was it something darker? A compulsion he couldn't control? She opened her laptop and started digging deeper. She found Rebecca's social media profiles. She scrolled through old posts, looking for any connection to David. And then she found it. A photo from 4 years ago. Rebecca and David standing together at a bar, smiling. The caption read, "Great night with great people." Emma's blood ran cold. They knew each other. This wasn't random. This was planned. Emma couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Rebecca's face. She heard her screams. She felt the weight of David lying next to her, and it made her skin crawl. The next morning, she made a decision. She would go to the police. But first, she needed more information. She waited until David left for work, then called Rebecca's family. Her hands were shaking as the phone rang. A woman's voice answered, "Hello? Hi, my name is Emma. I'm calling about Rebecca Hayes." There was a long pause. Then softly, "Rebecca was my sister. Why are you asking about her?" Emma's voice cracked. "I think I know what happened to her." Another pause, this one longer. "Who are you?" "I'm married to David Brennan." The line went silent, and then the woman's voice, sharp and filled with fury. "Stay away from him. He's dangerous." Emma's heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "Rebecca told me about him before she disappeared. She said he was obsessed with her. She tried to break things off, but he wouldn't let her go. She was terrified. And then one day she just vanished." Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "I found videos on his camera." The woman gasped. "You need to go to the police. Now, before it's too late." Emma hung up the phone, her mind reeling. David didn't just kill Rebecca. He was obsessed with her. He stalked her. He hunted her. And now, Emma realized with growing horror, he'd done the same thing to her. She thought back to their relationship. The way he always seemed to know where she was. The way he showed up at her favorite coffee shop, claiming it was a coincidence. The way he insisted on moving into a house far from the city, isolated, where no one could hear her scream. It wasn't love. It was control. But the truth was darker than anyone expected. Emma opened her laptop again and searched for more information about David. She found his previous address, his work history, his social media, and then she found something that made her stomach turn. A blog, written by a woman named Catherine Mills. The title of the final post, dated 5 years ago, read, "I'm scared. If anything happens to me, it's because of him." Emma knew she had to act fast. She copied everything, the videos, the blog posts, Rebecca's sister's contact information, and stored it all on a flash drive. Then she called the police. The officer who answered sounded skeptical at first. "Ma'am, do you have any evidence to support these claims?" "I have videos," Emma said. "Videos of him torturing a missing woman, Rebecca Hayes. She disappeared 3 years ago." There was a pause. "We'll send someone over." Emma hung up and exhaled. But then she heard it. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway. Her heart stopped. David was home early. She shoved the flash drive into her pocket and closed her laptop. She tried to steady her breathing as the front door opened. "Emma?" David's voice echoed through the house. "Where are you?" She walked to the top of the stairs, forcing herself to smile. "I'm here, just finishing up some work." He looked up at her, and for the first time she saw something different in his eyes. Something cold, something predatory. "We need to talk," he said. Emma's pulse raced as David climbed the stairs. She backed into the bedroom, her mind screaming at her to run, but her legs wouldn't move. "I got a weird call today," David said, his voice calm but his eyes sharp. "From Rebecca's sister. She said you called her." Emma's throat went dry. "I was just curious about your past." He stepped closer. "Curious?" She nodded, trying to keep her voice steady. "You never talk about your exes. I thought maybe you went through my things." It wasn't a question. Emma's heart pounded. "I found your camera." David's expression didn't change. He didn't yell. He didn't panic. He just smiled. And that smile was the most terrifying thing Emma had ever seen. "Then you know," he said softly. "You know who I really am." Emma's voice cracked. "Why did you keep the videos?" "Because I wanted to remember," David said. "Every moment, every sound, every breath. It's beautiful in a way. The power, the control, and now..." He took another step toward her. "Now I get to relive it all over again, with you." Emma ran. She bolted past him down the stairs toward the front door. But David was faster. He grabbed her arm and yanked her back, slamming her against the wall. "Where do you think you're going?" he hissed. And then, in the distance, Emma heard the sound of sirens. The police arrived just in time. David was arrested, dragged out of the house in handcuffs, his calm demeanor finally cracking as reality set in. Emma collapsed onto the front lawn, sobbing, her body shaking with relief and terror. The detectives recovered the videos. They matched the footage to Rebecca Hayes, and within days, her remains were found buried in the woods behind David's old property. Catherine Mills was found too, and 3 other women whose names Emma had never heard. David Brennan wasn't just a killer. He was a serial predator who had perfected his method over years. He targeted women who were isolated, vulnerable, and desperate for love. And he used that desperation to destroy them. But Emma survived. She escaped. And because of her bravery, 5 families finally got answers. 5 women finally got justice. Emma's life would never be the same. The nightmares, the therapy, the constant fear that maybe, somehow, David would find a way back to her. But she rebuilt. She moved to a new city. She changed her name. She started over. And she made a promise to herself. She would never ignore her instincts again. The signs were always there. The isolation, the control, the way he made her feel like she couldn't survive without him. But she did survive. And so can you. If this story hit you the way it hit us, hit that like button. It helps us reach more people who need to hear these stories. And subscribe if you want more gripping real-life mysteries every week. What do you think? Did Emma do the right thing? Could you have seen the warning signs? Let us know in the comments. Stay safe, and remember, trust your gut.